A number you never chose controls your life. 200 million Americans carry a FICO credit score, a three-digit number between 300 and 850. It determines whether you get a mortgage, a car loan, an apartment, even a job. But the algorithm that calculates it is a proprietary trade secret, and not even federal regulators know exactly how it works. FICO is not a government agency. It is a private company pulling in $2 billion a year in revenue. You never signed up for this system. You cannot opt out of it. And you are not even FICO's customer. The lenders are. In 1956, Bill Fair and Earl Isaac pooled $400 each to launch Fair, Isaac & Company. Their idea was simple. Use math to strip out the prejudices of manual lending, the kind that let banks deny black families home loans with a single glance at a neighborhood map. For decades, lenders had relied on redlining and gut instinct, embedding discrimination into every handshake and signature. Fair and Isaac promised something better, a number that would bring order and objectivity to chaos. But the solution they built would soon become its own kind of gatekeeper. By 1989, Fair Isaac's partnership with Equifax produced the Beacon Score, the first standardized nationwide credit score. For the first time, a single algorithm could decide who got a loan, who paid more, and who was left out. Then in 1995, the stakes changed for everyone. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the government's mortgage giants, required every conforming loan to include a FICO score. No score, no mortgage. Within a few years, three-digit numbers replaced face-to-face judgment, and FICO's model became the industry's default language. Today, FICO's reach is nearly absolute. 90% of major lending decisions reference its score. The company now reports nearly $2 billion a year in revenue, driven by licensing fees and exclusive partnerships. What began as a promise of fairness has hardened into a private infrastructure, one that holds the keys to housing, credit, and opportunity, with no real way for the public to question or escape its rule. A single three-digit score now stands between millions of Americans and the basics of modern life. But the formula behind that number isn't just secret. It is stacked in ways most people never realize. The FICO model claims to reward responsibility, but its 5 pillars tell a different story. Payment history makes up 35%, and amounts owed count for 30%. Length of credit history, new credit, and credit mix fill out the rest at 15%, 10%, and 10%. Yet the things that actually keep households afloat, on-time rent, utility payments, even years of paying cash, are invisible unless a landlord or third-party service reports them. Consider Maria, who paid $1,200 in rent every month for 20 years. Her record is spotless, but because rent is not counted, her score sits at 620, too low for a conventional mortgage. Meanwhile, someone like Pixel, a young streamer, opens 5 credit cards, makes tiny purchases, and pays them off just so the system sees active use and a healthy credit mix. In 6 months, Pixel's score jumps 80 points. The formula rewards those who play the debt game, even if their financial habits are risky. This is not a minor flaw. 26 million adults have no score at all. 19 million more have files too thin to matter. These groups are overwhelmingly Black, Hispanic, or low income, locked out not because they are irresponsible, but because the system refuses to see them. Responsible choices, avoiding debt, paying bills in cash, never missing rent, count for nothing. The algorithm, built and owned by a private company, decides who gets a home, a loan, or a job, and who stays invisible. Errors in credit reports are not rare glitches. They are baked into the system. A Consumer Reports investigation in 2022 found that 44% of participants had at least one error on their credit file. That means nearly half of Americans are walking around with a report that could cost them a job, a home, or a loan, and they often do not know it until it is too late. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau logged over 2.5 million credit reporting complaints in a single year, most about mistakes that take months to resolve if they are fixed at all. The burden falls on the individual to prove the error, gather documents, and wait for a response from the same bureaus that created the problem. Even when corrected, the consequences can linger: missed opportunities, higher interest rates, and lasting damage to financial health. Then came the Equifax breach. In 2017, hackers stole the personal data of 147 million Americans, nearly half the country's adults. Social security numbers, birth dates, and addresses were exposed, and Equifax waited 6 weeks to tell the public. During that window, top executives quietly sold millions in stock. The eventual settlement totaled $700 million, but most victims received payouts of just $5 to $20. The company's revenue quickly rebounded, topping $5 billion within 2 years. For those whose identities were stolen or whose lives were upended, there was no real accountability, only a reminder that the people who control the system rarely pay the price when it fails. Landlords, insurers, and employers now wield the credit score as a silent filter. For renters, a number below 650 can mean automatic rejection, even if every rent check for years arrived on time. Insurers quietly adjust premiums using credit-based scores, charging higher rates to drivers and homeowners who have never filed a claim but fall short on FICO's mysterious scale. Job seekers in finance, government, and security-sensitive industries face background checks that include credit reports, and a low score can block a promotion or a new start with no explanation required. These decisions unfold behind closed doors, powered by an algorithm protected as a trade secret. No federal law limits when or how a credit score can be used outside of lending. The Fair Credit Reporting Act covers data accuracy, but stops short of regulating the score itself or demanding transparency from FICO. As a result, the score's reach keeps spreading, unchecked, unchallenged, and invisible to those it harms most. A private algorithm grades your worth, unseen, unchosen, and inescapable. Today, credit scores punish financial caution and reward manufactured debt. Until transparency wins, fairness is just a marketing slogan. What do you think?